I want people to wake up to the truth of who they are. That's what I want. But that's not all. That's not all that I want.
Welcome, everyone. My name's Tami Simon. I'm the founder of Sounds True, and I'm here in this session with one of my favorite spiritual teachers, Adyashanti, and we're going to introduce you to the 30-day wake-up challenge. Adya, welcome.
Hey, Tami. Nice to be with you again.
In the 30-day wake-up challenge, Adya, you have 4 sections for the teaching. And I'm not going to go into the whole description of the architecture of the program, but in the second section, it's about awakening the heart. And at one point when you and I were having a dialogue, you shared with me a pointer, like you're describing here. You pointed something out that was already there, but I didn't really know it was there. And it had to do with opening up to the heart as a perceptual center. And I have to tell you, it changed me forever. Truly, actually, because I didn't know it. I had the experience when you pointed out. So I want to give that gift to our listeners right now. Can we just do it?
We can give it a go. Sure.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, if we usually don't think of the heart as a perceptual center. We think of it as an emotional center, which it is that. We feel things deeply in our hearts, and that's one of the beautiful things about life. But let's also hold the possibility that the heart is a perceptual center. So usually we look through our eyes, right? I'm looking out through my eyes and I take in whatever I see is a visual thing. And then there's what I feel about it. But just imagine that also, it's almost like you kind of let your inner gravity, it's just like letting your breath kind of fall down through the body. You just let your center of gravity come a bit down to more of the heart so that you're aware just of here. So the center of gravity is here instead of in your heart, instead of your head. And then you can look out literally at anything, including the computer screen. People might be looking at this, say, for instance, or a tree or anything. And it's to have this intuitive sense that you're not only looking and seeing what you see, but you're sensing what you see. You're feeling it and sensing it from this whole, what I call the heart center, this whole chest area. And it's a way of just intuitively connecting. So the heart is also where we connect, right? So we see something, but we connect through our heart. It's a felt intuitive sense. So we bring that sense of heartful, of connection. We feel it, and we can feel it, of course, we usually feel it with people or pets or things we love or sunsets or things that are beautiful. But we can actually just bring that sense of connection. What would it feel like to connect right now with whatever's in your perceptual field? So you see it, but you also sense it, and you almost imagine you have eyes in your heart. And so you're feeling what you see. You're sensing what you see. And you're also opening, because that's part of the heart center too, like a moment where we're willing to be available to what we see. Not just see what we see, but we're available to it. In the way that when you look at a beautiful sunset, the beauty brings you into a sense of availability, right? The beauty opens you up. But we can also make a decision. I will just be available for what I see right now. And I'll be willing to feel what I see and sense it. And so we're kind of letting the world into us. We're sort of letting ourselves be impacted, really letting the world in, and then sensing that. And that, at the very least, that generally almost immediately evokes some deeper sense of an intimate connection, right? Sometimes it just starts very subtle. It might start I feel just a little more connected. Isn't that odd? Okay, great. Now that took us, you can do that in 30 seconds. Now imagine you do that, you know, 7 or 8 times in a day for 30 seconds. That sense of connectedness is like a muscle. Like the more you exercise that little simple intention, what I've found is that tends to grow in people very quickly when they know how to exercise it and they just start to utilize it in these moments. And the nice thing is that you notice we haven't been meditating for an hour, right? We haven't got ourselves into a particular state. We're just really opening to now.
You know, it's a beautiful example, I think, of one of the practices from the 30-day wake-up challenge. And it brings me back, Adya, to when I first heard you teach that practice in the context of describing what's in the wake-up challenge. And I remember I kind of just like wanted to kiss the wall suddenly. I was like, because I was in a studio and I was like, it's the wall in the studio, it's beige. I never really paid any attention to it. Now I want to kiss the wall. And, you know, now I have that feeling for the computer screen for the moment, because that's what I've been looking at. But it brings me to this, which is in the introduction to the program. Here's one of the things you say. You say it will take every bit of courage and humility that you can muster to have more than a brief glimpse of awakening. And I'm bringing that forward because there are all of these glimpses, and there are glimpses that we can gain from a 30-day challenge like this. And, you know, one of the things you say is glimpses are valuable, they're important, yay, glimpses, we love glimpses. But here's what I want to understand. Why will it take every bit of courage and humility that a human can muster to have more than a brief glimpse?
That's a great question. I think so. Well, here we are, and the people that are with us right now, and we're looking into computer screens, and that's not particularly challenging, right? We can feel fairly safe and unchallenged here. By the way, one of the nice things, like when we did that little heart practice, it's the one reason that I spent a week on each of these sections, because one heart practice works for some person and something totally different works for somebody else. So there's lots of different access points to the same thing. But to get back to your question of the courage, like even to do this, I'm sure that people that are listening to this, there will inevitably be some people that just did this heart practice, that felt a little bit shaky, like, wow, to open that up a little bit, to let the world inside feels a little, you know, is that really what I want to do? And so that takes a little bit of curiosity, a little bit of courage. The nice thing is with all these practices is this is all in your hands, right? Nothing's being insisted on. We do it at our own rate, in our own way, in a way that feels safe. So we start with things that are relatively simple, unthreatening, looking at each other in a computer, at a tree, your favorite pet, someone you love. You know, there's things you almost like practice the connecting, get that muscle using it. But then, as we all know, I think, we go into other situations, it's not so easy, right? You feel challenged, or your boss criticizes you, or your partner wants to have a challenging conversation, or you're at the coronavirus and you're sitting at home and you're starting to feel really lonely and have anxiety, or, you know, whatever you're feeling. And, you know, to kind of the suggestion like, okay, let's lean in for a moment, let's encounter that moment in a heartful way. That's going to challenge a little bit, right? It's going to take a little bit of courage, a little bit of curiosity. And so these are ways of, I think what I'm trying to do with something like the Wake Up Challenge, of course, ideally, I want people to wake up to the truth of who they are. That's what I want. But that's not all that I want. I want them not to glimpse it, or even to have a really powerful experience of it. But ideally, I want people to be able to live it, right? So that it informs your way of being in the challenging areas of life. And I just like to be really honest with people. Like, awakening can happen at any moment, right? And bringing that, you know, opening yourself to that more kind of awakened view in more and more areas of your life, more and more challenges is a process, and it doesn't tend to happen overnight, and it does take some courage and some dedication. I don't know, what I found over the years, to be totally honest, is the more honest I am with people, the more something in them kind of steps up to it. Because I think we all just like people being honest with us, right? Like, yeah, we can wake up right now. You can do a little practice, and it's possible to have a really transformative awakening at any moment. To think that that's possible is maybe the most important part of all of this. And to live that's what we have a life for, right? To discover that and to see, oh, what gets in the way? What other agenda did I start operating from? You know, what kind of contraction did I go into? And that can be looked at, and that can be explored, and that can be opened up and delved into. And, you know, I think of spirituality as an endless process of discovery.
I want to invite you all to join us for the 30-day Wake Up Challenge, a direct way to spiritual liberation. Thank you so much. And Adya, thank you so much too. You're such a dear. Thank you.
Bless your heart. Yeah.